Mama Mayfair's a bitch and Ian Mayfair is a conniving son of a bitch, and like all
And
the
even
girls
the,
are these
even the
crazy
derpy
witches.
son, even the derpy son you thought was a good guy is actually
Even
a fucking piece of shit.
Oh my god, A2 Hamish? Come on, man. The Articulate Coven is the original, unofficial fan podcast and community for Anne Rice's Interview with the Vampire, The Vampire Chronicles, The Lives of the Mayfair Witches, and The Immortal Universe from AMC and AMC+. Welcome to The Articulate Coven. We are your hosts. I'm Joel.
I'm Ashley.
And we are The Articulate Coven. The Articulate Coven is the unofficial fan podcast and community for Anne Rice's Immortal Universe, including Interview with the Vampire and The Lives of the Mayfair Witches, the TV shows based on those, and all the books as well. We cover the whole 9 yards. Sooner than later, Ashley, it seems like we're going to be talking about Anne herself and the celebration of life.
I'm so excited.
He made not an announcement, I think, about ticket sales coming soon. So, like, everybody watch your newsletters.
Yeah, the newsletter apparently is the place to really get it first, but I always see it on Facebook before
I see it on Facebook. I still haven't gotten this last newsletter. I saw it. You shared it into the group, our Facebook group, which, by the way, is in link below. If you're not doing much social media these days, let me still recommend to you perhaps
the
Facebook group is a very, very good place. Once upon a time, didn't they have a group app where you could just use the app to go through your groups? I think they took that away now. But
I think that was in a galaxy far, far away.
Yeah, that was in a better timeline.
That was in a very different timeline. That was before that weasel ran into the CERN.
That's right,
or whatever it was back in 2012 that put us onto this.
We should have known, Ashley. We should have known.
You can't fuck with the space-time continuum, people. Stop looking for things that don't need to be found. I'm just kidding. I love science. Keep doing it.
Y'all do keep looking for that asteroid, though, that's supposed to show up in the next 2 or 3 years. So, like, I would prefer not to check out right away.
I mean, yeah.
Anyway,
if you don't get fired, please keep an eye on that asteroid.
Even if you do, maybe grab the telescope on your way out. Nobody's looking, okay?
Nobody's looking. You could be a hobbyist scientist.
Yeah, indeed. I mean, I think it was the hobbyist that alerted the government in Independence Day too. So maybe it's to quote Billy Bob Thornton, begging your pardon, sir, it's a big ass sky. All right. Let's get back to what I was saying. Anne Rice.
Yes, sorry.
Okay, so Anne Rice, I don't know if you know her. She's an American author, wrote a few books about vampires and witches.
Big fan.
And other things. We're big fans.
Fans.
She passed away a few years ago, and her son and some of her family and friends have begun to plan, or not begun to plan at this point, they have planned a celebration of life for her on November 1st of 2025. That's when it's going to happen. We still don't know the specifics about exactly what the show is going to entail or how much it's going to cost. But our plan is to go ourselves to New Orleans for that weekend and to attend the celebration of life, if at all possible. I mean, unless they're Taylor Swift style prices for the tickets,
because
I think we'll be there.
And I don't it's so funny because I was looking at hotels in New Orleans over Halloween, the weekend before Halloween. It was this past year, and I was like, "Fuck!
Why are they so?"
Hotel prices are so and then I was like, "Oh, it's the weekend before Halloween," and I was like, "Still, it's a little bonkers." No, it's freaking Taylor Swift was in town.
Yeah.
Taylor Swift was in town, so everything was insane.
Yeah, she will not be in town this year.
No, we should book early though. Book early.
Yes, absolutely. If you know that you're going to try to make that trip, it wouldn't be a bad idea to go ahead and get a hotel now.
And a lot of the local kind of more boutique, kind of that boutique style hotels, or the smaller hotel groups that are down there that have 2 or 3 or 4 related properties, you'll get a better deal usually checking their website directly. So for those of you guys that are starting to kind of look for places to maybe to stay down there, be careful about Airbnb, because not all of them are licensed the way they should be down there, and you might end up with last minute cancellation. Hotels, check the direct websites, and you might get better deals.
Yeah, I mean, again, not to get on a soapbox, but Airbnb destroyed the housing market in New Orleans, guys,
Oh,
like so
God,
severely. And
brutalized
so
it.
genuinely, that is not a welcome. If you tell anybody in New Orleans that you stayed at an Airbnb,
They're gonna be
even
like,
if they are currently legal, which is like
Yeah.
they got to be in specific places, people are going to look at you askance. It is not
Yeah.
a thing that you want to advertise, even if you do it.
No,
I
indeed.
will say, I edit a podcast called Beyond Bourbon Street, and if you check that show out, it's available in all the podcast apps.
Ooh,
First of all, the most recent episode, which will be available by the time you're listening to this, is about Storyville. There's a new Storyville museum in New
love
Orleans,
this.
which I thought our fans might specifically be interested in. And in particular, in the episode, they talk about, among other things, Tom Anderson, the real life Tom Anderson.
Yes.
Yeah, it's like a big feature in the episode. So
Hey,
go check out that
Nancy's heading
episode.
down there next week. Nancy, check that out.
Yes,
Check that museum out for us.
that's an excellent idea. Actually, I'll send her that link. Thank you for mentioning that, Nancy Ward, the Queen of the Damned, our largest and first patron. Thank you so much. She is headed to New Orleans herself right now for a little trip. But my thinking is this: those of us that are going to go to New Orleans, if there's even just a small group of us, I might try to reach out to a few of the people connected through Mark, the host of that Beyond Bourbon Street show, and see if I can't get us maybe a discount code for the museum, for instance, to go to the Storyville Museum together, or to maybe get like a back room at a bar or a restaurant where we can all hang out. God forbid, maybe even record an episode of this show in front of you guys. So
that would be bananas.
I've got some crazy ideas. I'm going to put a post up for everybody on the Patreon. All the free and paid members of the Patreon will see this specifically about this. And I'm just going to ask you to comment, and opt in whether this is something that you're trying to do and go with us, or whether it's not in your plans or not a possibility. Obviously, everybody knows times are tough. And besides, it's like, how far are you to, whether you can plan a trip to New Orleans or not? Ashley and I are always just a little car drive away. So
just a little hop, skip, and a jump over.
I mean, genuinely, even if they do, and I don't even know the venue yet. I don't know if I don't believe that's been announced for the Celebration of Life. So let's say it's like some tiny little hole in the wall and they are Taylor Swift prices. Well, then I will be outside saying my Hail Marys to Our Lady and and then I'll be there that weekend to celebrate with whoever else is around. So
yes, exactly. That will also be my plan. Also, like Halloween in New Orleans is so much fun. It's such a great time. I love it. There's so many reasons for us to go have a really good time.
I mean, the Vampire Ball will probably be that weekend or within spitting distance of the celebration. Yep. I'm sure they'll counter program so that it's not in opposition to the, or probably not the same day, honestly.
So tacky.
Yeah, no, I'm sure they won't do that. But anyway,
tacky.
Really interesting stuff. If you can put that on your calendar now, go ahead and do it. And again, watch our Facebook group, watch Christopher Rice's Facebook page, Anne Rice's Facebook page, and you can go to annrice.com and get on the newsletter as well. But like we said, so far, they haven't been sending the newsletter quite as fast as they seem to be posting on social media.
I also am a monster with my email. Like people, if somebody saw my inbox, they would. Most people would have a real problem with me as a person.
I mean, I'm pretty good about mine, but those sorts of things are very easy to fall into a spam filter, even if you've tried to opt out in the past. So
everything's spam in my inbox. Sorry.
No, not at all. All right. This was an interesting episode of Mayfair that we're going to talk about tonight.
Holy shit.
Season 2, episode 7. We're almost done with this season.
We joked about the midsummer schmigadoon.
Yeah.
But it got even more so this episode, I felt.
Absolutely it did. And so interesting to me, several of the things that people had commented on or theorized after last episode like immediately paid off and came true. So I want to acknowledge a bunch of those today.
Yeah.
Okay, first of all, this comes from Charlotte Edwards. This is in our Facebook group. Charlotte said, I grew up near plenty of places that had festivals that looked just like the celebrations that the Americans were all calling weird. I don't know how to feel about that. So first of all, me a couple, we are some of those Americans. We were like, look at this crazy pagan festival.
I mean, I'm here for it, but also not there for it because everything about that was really creepy and just felt like you were walking into a horror movie. But
And it was a little too much. Yeah, it was very Wicker Man, no doubt about it.
Look, listen, I'm nothing if not well educated in the ways of cults and horror films.
So several people pointed out that the behind the scenes, the episode insider thing for last episode that you and I literally admitted to not watching.
I refuse.
So, or at least I do tend to watch them, but I don't watch them often by the time we record these.
Right, absolutely.
In that last episode insider, though, they specifically say, and I think in retrospect, they probably said this during the Comic-Con panel as well, and we had just forgotten it. They filmed in Ireland for Scotland. They did go on location, but it was to Ireland. My guess is that comes down to like a tax credit, and it was cheaper.
I'm sure.
Versus, I mean, it's not like Scotland wasn't green enough, is my point.
Right,
you know,
right. Usually those things come down to like a tax credit or like location wise, it's just easier. Like streets, you got roads, you got shit, you can get where you want to be. It's a lot easier, in one place than the other. So.
Well, or things like, particularly when you're filming in Europe, how easy is it to get all of our American crew in and out of the country when we need them?
Yeah, also that.
Right. Yeah. I mean, those are things that we don't necessarily think about. And with so many productions filming in, it's not a problem when they come and film in Louisiana, for instance.
Right. No, indeed.
I say that.
Oh, I mean, come on.
It might become more of a problem now for those of us that are not from the States, but that are coming in from the UK or from abroad. Who knows how things might tighten in the near future.
Everything's going to be more difficult for us. Why? Sorry.
Well, I don't know.
We're fine. We're fine. It's okay.
They've got Mel Gibson fixing Hollywood, right? Mel Gibson and
right. We love.
What's his name? Dean Cain.
I'm just drinking hot chocolate right now, but I really do wish there was a little whiskey in it. I'm going to be honest.
So we had a few different people talk about what you and I mentioned, the pretty little maiden that shows them upstairs to their rooms when they first arrive at Ian's mansion. And then later she's flashing her goodies to Lark in the sitting room. A couple of people commented about it. Jason Revington in particular on our Facebook group said, was the girl trying to seduce Lark a redhead, or was I mistaken? Here comes a spoiler and a wild theory. All right. This is technically a spoiler for the books, but folks, it's a very minor one, and I'm just going to go ahead and give it to you because this show isn't doing the books anymore.
Just hum through it. Hum through it if you don't want this ruined. Like you can start
your 45 seconds.
Yeah, begin your humming now.
Okay, what if we get Morrigan because a redhead seduces Lark, sort of a Michael replacement, when the new Julian redhead seduces Lark. I was thinking Sip and Moira might produce this, but 2 episodes left, and dude may be a bit too busy for a roll in the hay with Moira. Yeah, totally. That's exactly where they're going now. First, this episode makes that pretty clear, I think.
Yep, absolutely. 100%. That's where we're going. We're going like this episode was just ripped from the script of Midsummer.
Yeah, man.
There's a lot of it that is just interesting.
So you and I talked last week about how the love scene right before Rowan, when Rowan puts Lark to sleep with that booty and then goes down to the tunnels, it felt forced. It came out of nowhere. It's like, man, that feels like magic sex maybe. Okay, here goes a even better idea. This is from YouTube and Radiant Baby. She says, first of all, a great long thread about a bunch of different things, but this is what I wanted to pull out here. Speaking of love scenes, when Lark and Rowan took the time to make love amidst all the terror chaos, it was so out of nowhere that I seriously had a moment thinking that wasn't actually Rowan, but instead Ian's daughter, who had flashed him using magic to pretend she was Rowan to get with him, or something like that. That might at least been a little less WTF, because seriously, being in that crazy house would be the biggest boner killer for me. So I don't know how Lark even got into it, or Rowan for that matter. Yeah, it would be a dry situation staying in that house, I would have to say.
There is nothing horny about that house at all. No.
And I will say, There is something sexy about having sex at somebody else's house. That is its own
something a little
little
naughty and
yes, yes.
taboo and whatever. Yeah, but
Staying over, you don't know how thin the walls are. You got to be quiet.
We're
but not in that house.
We're not fucking at Ian's. We're not fucking at Ian's. No.
So I had not considered that it wasn't even Rowan in the room with Ian. But watching this episode today, I thought to myself, yeah, it is entirely possible that they both went to separate rooms and were, our Rowan put to bed some other Lark, and our Lark went to bed with a different Rowan. I think that might have been the deal.
I mean, it could be. It's a little that's a little complicated for my brain, and I think probably some brains that might be working on the show. I think it's probably more likely they just had some witchy sex to get him asleep and get her out of the room. But we did have some witchier sex later.
Right? Okay, so this episode starts with first of all, the pretty maiden girl in the room again, and you're like, oh shit. Yeah, I guess we are going to get, and then she's on top of Lark, and what is she doing? And he wakes up, but then they're both in a trance.
And it's weird.
Okay, I was just like, what's going on? Okay, I want to call it out here. I want to acknowledge the elephant in the room, the little bit of a double standard. These books are full of rape scenes. I mean, like Game of Thrones level number of rape scenes.
I would say probably more than Game of Thrones.
More than the books for sure. I don't know about more than because the show just like dwelt there for so long.
They did have some real fun.
Like, oh, you like this? No, we don't like that. Stop with that.
Nobody likes it, guys. Nobody.
I mean, I just for a moment, why did they linger so long on all of that rape when you could have just had the Lannisters screw? Like Jaime and we like Jaime and Cersei screwing. They're both very attractive people.
The incest was enough,
Yeah, man. Okay. Anyway, back to this.
In the book, this weirdness.
There is a lot of incest. There is a lot of rape. And the show has very specifically avoided rape. Like it hinted that maybe one time Lasher was going to try it, and it didn't happen.
Mm-hmm.
And yet, I mean, they don't get explicit. We don't see that this woman actually mates with Lark, but it sure feels like that's what they were trying to show us.
And even if it doesn't go to the end of it, it's still
she's drugged him and is on top of him. They're using him.
He's mounted. I don't think things are going great for our guy. I mean, that's not consensual.
No.
That wasn't a consensual mounting. And it is a little bit of a double. I mean, and I don't even know what kind of double standard I'm talking about, but there's definitely one there somewhere. Like, I can't even really identify it right now. Because this episode was fucking bananas. I finished watching this and I was like, what the hell just happened?
Looney Tunes, man. Like, just from top to bottom. Yeah. Okay. Anyway, my big question here in this scene, though, other than so we're fine with Lark getting assaulted.
Yeah.
What's that sewing needle for, Ashley?
What is that sewing
Man, she pulled that thing out of her hair, and I was like, oh.
No.
When we finally go back to Lark later, I was certain he was going to try to get up out of the bed, and he'd be sewn into the sheets or something.
No. Or like have somebody else's face bits somewhere on his face bits. I just had very bad thoughts about, like, don't show me a needle like that in a house like that.
I didn't think it was going to be good.
No, not good. Not good for anyone.
So Rowan is still trapped in the tunnels, and she's out of juice because in addition to not bringing any weaponry or any help or any backup, she also did not charge her fucking phone before she decided to go down into the tunnels.
Because we can't have any of the benefits of technology working in our favor.
I mean, she's got to be one of the dumbest protagonists on all of television currently.
And also, what a stupid doctor.
Yes. Like, how did this woman ever... I mean, I will say, I do know people in real life who are geniuses in their field who, like, could not tell you how to buy something at the store or
Right.
something, right? Like who are just
Right.
don't know how to function in society. But the
Right.
show has not portrayed her as some sort of like, high level functioning autistic or something.
Awkward savant.
She's not an awkward savant here. She's
No.
just dumb most of the
Yeah.
time. And she's
Yeah.
so dumb in this episode.
Yeah. Yeah. She looks really good in that dress. And they did a great job with her hair and makeup.
I said her stylist her costumer for this episode was apparently the same costumer as Gifford because, ma'am, she comes. We'll get there in a minute.
We're gonna there.
Not yet. We'll get there.
I mean, it's a way. It's a way, but
yeah, don't spoil the titties.
Don't spoil the titties. That was the good. That was the good part.
there's only like 3 great things in this episode. Okay. Yeah, man. I don't know how she doesn't even think about her phone being. I mean, maybe that's magic too, but like, boo on you, Rowan, just again and again. So Ian and Cortland, meanwhile, are out for a midnight drive, and immediately I was like, Ian's taking this dude out somewhere to kill him, right?
Yeah, 100%. Like, we don't go to a second location, even if it's your brother. No. Don't go to a second location. They've already kidnapped one of you. He's so stupid. He's so stupid in this episode. Cortland's so stupid in this episode. It's that need for approval that he has so much, and that, someone might finally agree with me.
Yes, exactly. That's exactly what it is. It's like so longing to have a partner. Man. Okay, so but Ian's testing him though and asking him a few nonsense questions because he's got the sense that something's wrong with Cortland. Cortland finally just says, I don't remember everything. Father kind of blocked all of my memories out. And Ian doesn't seem terribly surprised by it, although he does say it's probably a good reason.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and I mean, they kind of like commiserate on the fact that like their dad was a real asshole, and that, they're able to have like a moment where they're like, oh yeah, that he sucks.
We also find out Ian's a telekinetic. He picks up the keychain with his mind and moves it around the car and says that since Lasher has been here, he's gotten a lot more stronger with that stuff too.
So like everyone is a little lashed out. He kind of like, I don't know. It's he juices everyone around him up. That's magical, I suppose.
I mean that's or at least all the Mayfairs are juiced.
Yeah, at least the important ones. I don't know.
That's a very good point. Like, does Bonnie get stronger?
Like, did no one else said, "Hey, boy, I feel like a real badass when he's around." I missed that. It's weird.
So we cut to this chapel in the dark, and I gotta call it out because it's just not good. There's a swarm over the top of the chapel of what I assume was supposed to be birds, like in a flock moving together like they do. But it just looks like bad pixels, to be honest. And I backed it up and watched it a second or third time because I was like, maybe my stream's not loading properly. No, it looked fine. It's just bad CGI. And this is a perfect example of it's an unforced error. This is unnecessary. No. You
didn't need that.
No. What are you trying? Unless you're hinting at Lasher's there and they're being affected by his radiation or some bullshit, but then you got to say that at some point. You got to point it out. You got to call attention to it.
If this was Batman and they were bats, I'd be like, oh, I'm watching a Batman movie.
It ain't Batman.
But it ain't Batman. And those weren't even bats. So I don't even know.
So Lasher is in this chapel and Ian's son is showing him around, trying to show him all of Ashler's old haunts, basically trying to get him to his memories to come back a little bit, I think is the idea. Lasher, meanwhile, still doesn't trust these Scottish Mayfairs. He just wants to talk to Rowan. Which, by the way, I know it's all based on Julian's shenanigans, why there's 2 separate groups of Mayfairs here. But as soon as he said something about, I don't trust these, or maybe it was just my note. Maybe he didn't actually call them out as Scottish Mayfairs. Anyway, I said something about Scottish Mayfairs in my notes, and I immediately started thinking about in the Lord of the Rings, how Bilbo is always mad at the Sackville Bagginses.
Yeah.
That other
Fucking
side of the family.
stealing his forks and spoons and shit.
My our mutual friend Richard Bennett, who's the godfather to one of my kids, I had another pair of married friends who were also Bennetts, spelled the last way too, and Richard always referred to them as the Sackville Bennettses. What have you been up to with those Sackville Bennettses?
Amazing.
So Lasher does not trust these Scottish Mayfairs, though.
Sackville Mayfairs.
And he just wants Rowan. He's like, where's Rowan? She knows who I am. Ian's son finally, though, he kind of opens up a little bit. And honestly, at first I was like, oh, good. In retrospect, though, I'm watching what Ian is doing with Cortland, and I'm like, are they all just playing him, or is Ian?
Yes.
Are any of these Scottish Mayfairs going to be good guys in the end? Is my question. I guess.
I don't think so. I don't think we've met one yet.
I don't think so either.
If it is, it's going to be the little girl that she keeps trying to send out of the fucking room all the time.
Yeah, maybe Bonnie will. No, I got a feeling Bonnie's going to get accidentally murderlated, so we feel bad about something towards the end of this.
Well, something has to redeem someone at some point.
But
I don't even know who.
Like, Mama Mayfair's a bitch, and Ian Mayfair's a conniving son of a bitch, and like the girls are these crazy witches.
Even the derpy son you thought was a good guy is actually a fucking piece of shit.
Oh my god, A2 Hamish, come on, man.
That's it. A2 Hamish. God damn it.
God, it's the last time I let you put a blade in me, Hamish. Okay, so Ian's son finally, though, admits to Lasher. He says, my dad is a very violent man. I have to get you to the wedding, and if I can't manage that, my dad is a very violent man. So I mean, that doesn't sound great.
No.
Meanwhile, though, Lasher ends up, over the course of this episode, absolutely siding with these Sackville Bennettses.
Yeah, he's really excited.
And really kind of looking at Rowan askance, like, you only want me for what you can get from me.
Why don't you want me to have this pretty lady friend?
I mean, it's like simple characters that shouldn't be that simple. Why can he not see these questions that he's suddenly asking of Rowan are exactly what is happening to him with these Scottish Mayfairs that he 30 seconds ago didn't trust.
Exactly. He hasn't trusted them from Jump Street, because remember how they kidnapped you and killed the only person you know? But when Rowan just tells him that, he doesn't even believe her, really. If that's true, then that's very bad, or whatever he said. I don't know if that's true.
I'm sure they had a reason for it, as terrible as it is.
It really sucked.
Yeah. I don't know. Again, just dumb choices from characters who should not be dumb. Okay, so last week we talked a little bit about the fact that, first of all, you and I had confused and said Ashler was an ancient name for Lasher. There's a reason we were confused. And again, here, little book spoilers, but folks, the show ain't the books. You can read the books later when we do. We'll talk about it here on the show eventually. And you still won't really be spoiled. But
no, because it's
the reason why we were confused. Indeed. Lasher, at certain points in the books, after he's reborn, thinks that he's Ashler because Taltos have genetic memory. Taltos share and have these like combined ongoing, they can share visions of each other's lives, etc., etc. So a lot of Taltos have memories of Ashler, even though they aren't him. Now here in the show, I don't think we're going to get a surprise where it turns out the real Ashler was in New York City all along or something.
No, I don't think so.
I think they're just meshing characters together. And again, playing word search with the books.
Especially now that we've seen his dead body, presumably.
Yeah.
His like mummified remains. We're all over the place with this episode, but it's so hard to talk about it in order because it was just, there's so many crazy ass things that happen.
So much fuckery.
So much fuckery.
So thank you, though, to Comics Fan in our Patreon made the statement. I think in the second book, don't they say that the Taltos have some sort of genetic memory? They're born knowing what they need to know and remembering the lives of other Taltos. And that's why in the book flashbacks, they thought every Taltos was Ashlar. And Jolie confirmed, yes, exactly. This part is very similar to the books. He thinks he's Ashlar because they tell him he is, and they are all born with similar memories. Their goal is to have him mate with Imolith. There's also another character in the books in the Talamasca that they wrote into Sip's background, and I'd forgotten this. Okay, so in the books, Aaron Leichner saves a young boy named Yuri, and he grows up to be a member of the Talamasca himself. Yeah. He's an agent. He felt betrayed by the Talamasca when Aaron goes missing and eventually is killed in the books. They've sort of shoved that story, Yuri's storyline, into Cyprian, which I guess if we want to be on the positive side of things, means that there still could be an Aaron somewhere in the recent past that brought Cyprian in, maybe. I don't think they're ever going to do that on this show.
No.
But the rest of the universe could.
Well, exactly. And if there was one thing that this episode got me really, really excited about, it was the fucking Talamasca, because Agreed. I loved those scenes. I was like, yeah, this is what I want to see the Talamasca doing. This is the kind of shit, like talking and researching and like using their brilliant brains together to figure things out instead of like shooting spells and weird shit in New Orleans.
Yes. God, yes. It's not Hogwarts.
And now Sip's in charge, and he can whip that New Orleans branch into shape. Praise.
So Ian's son explains to Lasher that his blood is magic. He and Imolith's offspring will bring the Glen back to life. Then he demonstrates this to him by growing moss all over a table with one drop of his blood. Okay, have you ever seen anyone use a lip as the place to cut to draw blood for magic?
Such a weird fucking choice.
Right? It was like, you just cut your finger, my dude, or your hand, and your arm.
Your fingers, easy.
I don't know,
then
man.
You can just touch it. You know, with your finger, the things that you use to touch things.
I was just like,
rub your fucking mouth hole on everything that looks interesting to you.
God, when he eats his haggis later, it's going to burn so fucking bad.
He'll accidentally grow moss on his haggis.
So he's overtaken by the magic of this, and he gets down on all fours and kisses the place that's growing, and it grows a whole fucking tree right there in the middle of the chapel. Okay, just in case somebody gets real excited about this.
I guess that's why they cut his lip, Joel. I guess that was why. It wasn't any good reason except to set that so he could kiss up. Yeah.
Here's the thing.
He could have punched him in the mouth if they really wanted to do that. Like, they could have had a fucking fight. Blood could have splattered on the ground. This could have happened very magically.
I do not want any of you to go and read these books and be disappointed because the Taltos aren't little fairy elves. This is not the way that they are not like this in the book. They do not have this magic. They don't, first of all, they don't even soup up the Mayfairs. The Mayfairs don't suddenly become, magically empowered because Lasher's around or any of the other Taltos. Yeah, this is so weird, Ashley. Like, what are they doing?
That's what I said. I was so confused. I was like, we were on this trajectory that made some sense. And then
literally 2 episodes ago, I really thought I had the whole series figured out. And I was like, man, so crazy. In retrospect, I know now why they didn't say the word genetics or DNA in season 1.
Nothing, Joel Sharpton.
Indeed. I know nothing. I know absolutely nothing. All right. Okay. One of the things that I love, I'm doing a watch and reaction on our YouTube channel about Dark Shadows, the original supernatural soap opera. So much fun. I mean, I just finished like episode 59 for our patrons, and we're just beginning to actually have the first like supernatural stuff start to happen. That show didn't start out supernatural. I didn't know that. By the way, thank you to all of the people who watch those videos, because you guys are schooling me so much on the show, and it's really, really fun. Like, a bunch of people were there when it was airing the first time. But one of my favorite things about Dark Shadows is that they do these great transitions between scenes. Very often, you'll have 2 or 3 characters speaking, and one of them will say something, they'll end a sentence on X, Y, Z, and they'll switch to another scene with a fade in, And the
Mhm.
next scene will start with a character saying XYZ or ABC to follow on from the thing that was just said. I
Right.
love it. It just tickles me. I'm like, oh, that's good, handy writing, and it feels artistic, and it's lovely. We get
Tight
one of
little
those here,
editing.
and it made my day. It made my day.
I'm glad
As
something in
we're
this
fading
episode
away,
did.
I know, right? So as we're fading away from Lasher, he kisses the ground, the tree grows up, and we're fading out of that scene. He says, I remember. We cut to Ian and Cortland finally admits, Father took all my memories. I don't remember any of you and me, and it happened a long time ago. I was like, yeah, I like it. All right. Stay on a theme, at least, like connect the scenes from one to another.
Give me little treats to go along with these tricks, please.
Do something, man. So Ian says to Cortland that he can't really guarantee anyone's safety. He can't trust Rowan anymore. So as soon as they fix the flat tire, it's time for them to go back to New Orleans. And Cortland tells Ian, first of all, he tells him not to worry because he got a little gift from Lasher too. And Ian's like, oh yeah, what'd you get? And he goes, well, something that means I can more than take care of myself. Harry Hamlin is a wonderful actor. Cortland is even dumber than Rowan, though.
He's so stupid. Like,
I mean, what did he think?
Cortland has such pick-me energy in this episode, and I really hate it for him. I'm just
That's
like,
it.
and I'm like, are they trying to make us feel bad for him? And this is like their way of trying to soften him and make us like him more because they have to turn him from being the total heel that he has been into somebody we can tolerate and root for. And they tried to like, are they fucking with my emotions or is that just me because I'm about to have my period? I don't know.
We've got to watch The Passion of the Cortland before he can be redeemed into a babyface.
Yes, exactly.
Okay. Cortland, no, not Cortland. Rowan is back in the tunnels, and she uses her fire hand to lead her to Lasher because the flame grows when she gets closer to him.
She's literally playing hot and cold with a flame in her hand.
Oh my God.
Which is also Joel's favorite move in the show. Ah, my magic hand.
They do it later too when she's walking through the hall. She's walking through the hall. They've said, go that way to Lasher. And she's like this, walking through the hallway. So fucking stupid. Why, of all the things to pick up on and hold through the and she looks so proud doing it too. I mean, genuinely, this show is going to make me mad at Alexandria Daddario because I'm starting to wonder, like, why didn't you speak up for yourself? This is dumb. Let's don't do this.
Yeah. Oh, Lord.
Come on, man. Ugh.
Look,
Carrie Fisher rewrote her own dialogue when George Lucas wrote things too stupid to say. You know what I mean? Like,
and And
she was like 19 when they shot that shit.
Some crazy shit, sir.
Yeah, sir. Good Lord. Good Lord. I forgot she did it again until you mentioned it then. I was like, yeah, she does it. She does it later too.
It again.
Okay. The fire hand, though.
That is what triggered looks like right there.
Yes, it really is. The fire hand, though, does not lead her to Lasher in the end. It leads her to Mrs. Ian. Did we ever get a name for her yet, by the way?
Mean old hag.
Mean old hag. Yeah.
That's my name for her. She is unpleasant.
I don't think Ian named her in the show. I don't even know if they've given her a name. That is so ridiculous.
I haven't picked up a name.
Mrs. Ian is here, and she's ready to show Rowan out of the tunnels. She's got little Bonnie with her.
Get out of my fucking basement, ma'am. Now, this is a place you can have a basement, Joel. In fact, you can have tunnels instead of just a basement.
I will say it's pretty wet in Scotland too, but they are not below sea level.
But
that's
not
the
below
difference.
Sea level. That would be the difference.
That's the difference. Mm-hmm. So Bonnie offers Rowan a vial of blood. We assume that it is Lasher's blood. They all say so. Mrs. Ian says, pretty much, don't let the door hit you in the ass on the way out.
Bye. Take your blood and go and get.
Rowan says, not so fast, my friend. I need to see my boy, my lovely little son.
I'm his mother.
Okay, we've talked about this before, and maybe it's just the stupidity of Rowan, but she's so overconfident with no good reason to be so.
Well,
They've
it's
made it clear that she can't harm these people or she'll kill Bonnie. And
right.
let's be honest, she's not going to kill Bonnie if she can.
Right. Right.
So she knows she's not going to really do anything to these people. And she doesn't know anything about the position in which they have her. She doesn't know
Right.
where Cortland is at this moment. She doesn't know where Moira is at this moment. And she's just like, I'll blow all your fucking doors down, bitch. Show me Lasher.
Yeah, she's fucking big bad wolfing them. And I'm like, ma'am, you are no position to be raw dogging your way through this episode.
No, like, what are you doing?
Yeah,
You don't know
no.
you don't know the play, man. Like, never come in until you know the play. Anyway.
Yeah. No, there's a lot of really bad choices made in this. Like,
Rowan's so fucking overconfident. Oh, there's a really good line here. And I mean, to be fair, she blusters and bluffs, and they do take her to see Moira, and then they do take her to see Lasher. So
right.
I guess she does get what she wants. But there's a cute line when she gets to see Moira. Yes, that's my thing. Is like, I think this was all, again, they're just faking any don't throw me in the briar patch. Yeah, exactly. She demands to see Moira, and she comes in there. Moira's fine. She's just being held hostage by Fiona.
Bored. She's bored to tears.
But my favorite though is Moira says, "Don't worry about Fiona. Her mind is like a head of lettuce." No offense, Moira. No offense, Fiona. None taken. Okay. So we cut to Amsterdam here. All right. There's an interesting line here because we got all excited. They mentioned Daniel Malloy's book last week.
Yeah.
Okay. The woman asks, first of all, Cyprian has read it. He said, I read the Malloy book. And she said, oh, you got your hands on a manuscript?
Yeah. So I wonder, is this before it publishes?
Yes.
It publishes? So now we're back in time a little bit from where we thought we were.
Yes, I think you know the season 2 of Interview with the Vampire goes, and then the very final scene is an interview that Daniel Malloy is in upon the release of his book. But my thinking is that was kind of like a flash forward, so to speak, from the current timeline or whatever. And so this scene and most of season 2 has taken place after almost all of season 2 of Interview with the Vampire, but before the actual release of the book, because they're discussing the release of the book here.
Yeah.
And we have to remember the Talamasca made the deal with Daniel Malloy to publish the book for him. So my guess is that they're really controlling the whole thing.
Absolutely.
Sip says that we need to control the release of the book and make people think that it's fiction. That's the way that he would handle it. I think this is brilliant, first of all, and it's effectively what happens in the novels.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, people don't believe that it's real. But because of that smart idea and everything else that's gone on before, our Talamasca leader comes in and tells Sip that he's been given the head of the New Orleans branch. She says, you'll need to be careful when you go back. When you disturb the woodpile, sometimes snakes come crawling out, which I thought was a great line too. I'm going to pull up our YouTube channel real quick because there were 2 good comments along these lines that I wanted to mention.
Excellent.
And I forgot to take snapshots. All right. So we talked last week about the moment when, which by the way, that leader of the Talamasca is named Amiee, I believe is how you pronounce the name. And she's played by Franca Potente, as we mentioned last week.
Yes. Everyone's very excited about her.
I believe this is Julia, maybe, on YouTube, said, I don't think the Talamasca agent, Amiee, played by Franca Potente, was controlling Sip or waiting for him to calm down before she would speak to him. I think she was reading his mind. She didn't react to him because she was busy reading his mind. That was the trail that she was talking about. She read him, realized his true intentions, and realized he truly wasn't working with Albrecht against the Talamasca, and then moved on to asking for his help. I didn't think it was directed very well because it was a bit confusing. I also don't understand why they sent the non-mind reader to New Orleans. They could have saved a lot of time by sending Amiee instead of that other woman. The Sip story really feels like filler at this point.
Yeah.
Very good point. Very good point.
It's funny because the Sip story at this point feels like it's setting up Talamasca to me. Like it feels, even though at the beginning of the season, it did not feel like that. At the beginning of the season, we were like, oh, they're going to hook him and Moira up. This is going to be wild. This is going to get fucking crazy. Nope. Nobody.
They're all over the place. Okay. Meanwhile, Mandy Taylor on our Patreon said, I absolutely interpret the silent exchange between Sip and Frank's character as the hearing that clears him. Not that it happened before. That was the way I read her good,
like
which
it
is a really good
just
read.
Happens in her mind right then. She does the whole thing herself.
Yes. Okay. So after she gives him the New Orleans job, she says, so now you'll help me.
Yeah.
Great. They go into this
house. You're gonna clean house at home when you get back, by the way.
They go into this next room and she says, we have few original records of the Taltos, but we have a body.
Oh, look what we got. What?
This is not something from the book either, as I recall.
Not that I remember, but it has been a while, but I do not recall this from the book.
It's weird though that they got like a coffin in a display case.
It's just like they just roll it out. It's like in the library, like it filed, like it's got a Dewey Decimal number attached to it. It's in the reference section. Like, what the fuck is this?
So they finally uncover him and tell him that they want Cyprian to scan this man and see if he can get his memories, and maybe that'll give them some idea of this plan that Julian has and where this is all heading. As soon as they uncover him, though, Sip says, that is Lasher. That's Lasher's body right there, which it is so weird to see Jack Houston like melted down and shrunken in that like mummified way. It was very strange.
Like, but it's definitely him.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Okay. So if this man is Lasher though, which it seems to be, they say that this man died in the 1500s. Lasher's a lot older than the 1500s. Like this is not, he'd been a spirit a long time before that.
Yeah, maybe it is maybe this will be the introduction into that kind of like that genetic memory.
Maybe. So so what we find out towards the, I'm going to skip ahead a little bit, but Sip eventually, he says, he scans him and he gets this whole backstory that we're going to get into in a second. And then he and one of the other agents goes to Scotland because he says, I need to go to the place where the body was found. Mm-hmm. And when he gets there, he's like, oh, the body didn't die here. It died in the woods nearby, but also that body wasn't very old. It occurred to me then, and maybe again, I'm like, sometimes I feel like, why are you trying to explain the giant plot holes that this show builds for itself? But like, I do wonder.
Want to understand it.
Yeah, I mean, genuinely, y'all, these Mayfair books are weird. They are absolutely strange, and they are very complex. Would have been a real heavy lift to be adapted for television by anybody. And we assumed that there were going to be lots of changes, but there is so much good dramatic material, character interactions and backstories and payoffs and like all sorts of things that get built to. And the fact that the show is just effectively taking none of them, the fact that this comes from the same studio that is making Interview with the Vampire is shocking, honestly.
It's mind-blowing. It's really like the two different approaches. And I could see in your, like, if you wanted to justify it in your brain, you could be like, no, they both make changes. They both made big changes. No, there's not been a change in Interview with the Vampire that has fundamentally changed a character at the core of the character for me.
And every change has had a very specific story reason for what they want to tell in the TV series. The change from Louis being a 1800s plantation owner, a white plantation owner, to being a 1900s black Creole who runs a brothel brought so much depth to that character
100%.
and still was able to reach back into the books and bring forward, oh, Louis like this. Now the reason why he's like that is because of his background. Oh, Louis does these things. Here's why he does these things. Like literally used character points from the novels to tie in further to the changes that they made. And Louis, just one example of that. The moving the time forward, they've used all sorts of things in real world history to make more points about these characters in the story. And here, they're just not doing that. It's like they're changing it because they didn't read the book.
Yeah, it feels very arbitrary. I think they should do this next instead of this is what they did next. And you could still tell a very different story in the telling of they did this next by taking us there on a different route or through a different, in a different way than we expect. But yeah, this is just bananas.
So Sip decides to, yes, I'm going to read this thing, and he reaches out and he's starting to do it. But we learn a couple of other things here. So first of all, the Talamasca members say that the Taltos could supposedly be reborn, which again, that's not a thing that the Taltos can do.
They live
Lasher
a really long
specifically. Time. Yes. They can be very long lived, and they do heal, I think, quickly from injury is one of the things that they're particularly gifted with. But like the fact that Lasher became a spirit and then forced this plan to be reborn is just a Lasher thing. That's not like a Taltos power. Like, anyway, I'm just disappointed. I'm not mad, Ashley. I'm just disappointed.
Just disappointed. Are we there?
Okay,
yet?
so.
Are we there yet, Dad?
We cut to Rowan. She's hanging her hand out, going down the hallway to find Lasher. She gets there, and Lasher doesn't want to leave. He's very excited to see Rowan, but he's like, no.
You came for my wedding. Hooray.
These Scottish Mayfairs love me, and I love them now, of course. And have you met my beautiful bride? Yeah, and very quickly he's questioning her, like we talked about it earlier in the episode. He's like, I think you just want me to stay with you because of what I give to you.
Which is
why do you think Ian wants you to stay with him?
Right. Have you noticed your effect on him?
Yeah, right. Okay, so through Rowan getting the story from Lasher and Sip reading the body, we get this lengthy flashback to Lasher's backstory. Okay, so he says he was born of a Scottish... Well, he doesn't say this. The Scottish Lord says it. Born of a Scottish Lord and a witch queen, a Taltos, the first to come in a century. So he's an unwanted baby. The king couldn't have a son. The queen had an affair, but she cast the kid out because he's growing before her very eyes.
Growing at an unnatural rate, which is what you might want to do if your baby's growing at that kind of a rate.
Yeah, that's one of those times you might hand it off to the maiden. Yeah. So his father takes him in, his actual father, his birth father takes him in and names him Ashler. First of all, Ashler here stays a kid in these flashbacks a lot longer than it feels like he should, right?
Definitely longer than Lasher did.
Yeah, I'm like, you would be...
I felt like Lasher had maybe 36 hours. Maybe.
Yeah, I mean, at best. And like here, his father apparently has long enough to, how does he put it? Teach me how to call on the wolves? What
the fuck? That's where I was like, what the I had to pause it right there. I was like, what in the fucking Game of Thrones is happening? Are we got direwolves now? What in the fucking hell is going on? So here's
what I want to know, Ashley. Is there not a single fucking husky in the whole island of Ireland that they could have filmed with? Like, it doesn't have to be a wolf, y'all. It could have just been a fucking, we don't know the difference. Make it a fucking husky.
Our brains
and have him
stupid.
nip the kid. Right? This is one of the worst CGI dogs I've seen on TV in a long time.
Man. They spent all their CGI money on that him growing that forest inside that dead-ass chapel.
It's like, I mean, it was like the direct-to-DVD, parody version of the Lion King remake or something. Like, don't do this. I'm glad at least the wolf wasn't there for very long. I'll say
not
that,
like
I
this.
suppose.
Not like this.
Yeah, not like this. Not like this. But the point of the wolf is that he bites Ashler's hand, playfully, a little sweetly, and that makes him bleed onto the ground. And suddenly this homestead where the king's men had come and burnt down this village because they found out about Lasher's birth, the grass regrows under him, and okay, he's going to rebuild the forest, and now he knows the nature of his power, and et cetera, et cetera. But like, again, his dad could just have pricked his finger. Why are they going to bring the wolf thing back later? Like, if they are,
hope not.
God, I hope not. If Lasher calls wolves to save him in this next episode, I'm gonna be pissed off.
They better save the wolves for season 3 of Interview, or I will burn some shit to the ground.
Let me tell you something too.
If those wolves look like that, I'm also going to burn some
Lestat's wolves
shit
look
to the
like
ground.
this, I'm gonna be so fucking angry. I won't just be disappointed. I'll be angry. God damn it!
You're on notice, Rollin. You're on notice.
Oh, okay. I don't listen. It was somebody's job to draw that wolf, and I'm sure they did not give them enough time to do it. But
no, and they didn't let them edit it. They clearly didn't let them edit it enough. It is not the artist's fault. I'm going to call money and time. Money and time.
Do not care for it, though, is my point. Do not care for it. Okay, so after he calls the wolves, we get a smash cut, and he's a priest now doing his very best midnight mass impersonation.
Yes.
Blessing these people with the cross on their forehead and his blood.
Oh,
Ashley, that is not papal. That's not papal approved. I'm just telling you.
That's not what is it, like a body fluid policy approved at all in any workplace. These are not OSHA standards.
So Ashler, I guess I'm going to have to call him Ashler now. He says his whole purpose is to have children and bring nature back to the world that humans destroyed. Rowan says, these people are bad. And he said, and what about your intentions?
Yeah.
Yeah, what are your intentions, Rowan? What you going to do if you got me?
What are you going to, what are you going to do with me after you get your vial of blood,
You were going to kill me when I was in New Orleans.
But he's smart about Rowan, but he's not smart about the Scottish Mayfairs.
Not at all. So Lasher says, prove that you have good intentions. Stay for my wedding. Give your son away. I don't know, man. Again, I think I would have pieced out here. I love it earlier when Rowan goes in to tell Moira, like, yeah, they offered me the blood, but I didn't take it. Don't even worry about it. I'm going to get Lasher and it'll all be fine. Moira's like, that's dumb. And you're kind of stupid. You know that, right?
What the fuck are we doing?
Yeah. Moira's the only person who exists in the real world. Yes, exactly. So Rowan calls Cortland and tells him that she's planning on taking Lasher with or without his bride, which I love the idea that she's like, not only am I going to steal this grown-ass magic man, I'm also going to steal a woman I've never met.
Just kidnap her. Just fucking kidnap her right out of her home.
I mean, at least she can make the argument that Lasher is technically, literally her son. Imolith is not any relation to you, man.
No relation. No relation here. Good Jesus Lord.
So, Cortland is with Ian again, and Ian has had a real bad day. He is drunk and sad and kicking rocks outside of Cortland's window. And so he's talking to his brother about what ails him. And Ian tells him that our father is coming back to this world. He needs a vessel. He's chosen my firstborn, Hamish. Now,
that's what's going to happen to Hamish.
Ashley, I got to tell you, as soon as they said that Julian had chosen Hamish, I said, there is no way that Julian Mayfair would wear that haircut. He did not choose Hamish. There's a different plan here.
He did not choose Hamish, for sure. He would not. He doesn't like a 90s era George Clooney Caesar.
That's like the worst Caesar, too, by the way. It's way too low on the forehead. It's no good for Hamish there.
No, it's like going into bowl territory.
Yeah.
The bang is just creeping down.
Not pleasant.
Hamish.
So Cortland and Ian are both going to go into the Victrola. They're going to go in there and fight Julian together.
United front, brothers arm in arm, going to go in there and do some things.
Yeah. Of all the traps that ever trapped, this is the most obvious trap.
Admiral Akbar is like,
He's like, even he was like, you know what? I'm not even going to tell you.
I'm not even going to tell you because you should know.
You can't spell trap without a T and a rap. Yeah, man, they're going to absolutely steal Cortland's body. This is so clear. This is so clear.
And then, wait, does that hourglass even mean shit? Because Cortland's immortal, so he's just stuck in there. That's
stuck in there forever. Exactly what they said they were going to do with Hamish. So once they get into the Victrola, I do like Julian's got a good line here. He says, "The youth is wasted on the young, and immortality on the moronic."
That is very true when it comes to Cortland. Bless us all.
So Lark wakes up, a mysterious blood drip on his pillow, and a creepy ass woman waiting for him at the door to give him his wedding clothes.
Yeah. I don't want to wear clothes I don't know where they came from either. Like,
no.
I'm like,
didn't really look like Lark's style either, did it?
Where'd you find this kilt, sir? Like,
So Rowan goes into a little chapel in a room of the house, and she ends up kneeling on the prayer railing for a minute when she's interrupted again by Mrs. Ian. They snipe at each other for a minute, and then Rowan goes to get dressed. Cortland and Julian are now helping each other get their kilts on, and Julian is enjoying his new body. Harry Hamlin is really enjoying getting to play Julian, by the way. It was so obvious.
Yeah, I am actually looking forward to more of that action. That's like one of my favorite things is when there's like a body switching situation in anything and someone has to act like someone else in someone else's body.
Yeah, I can't wait.
Delights me
for the big villain monologue next episode. You know.
Yes.
Okay, so Rowan comes out, ready now for the wedding. Oh, before that even, Cortland and Ian are talking, and Ian's telling Cortland, like, we need to get Rowan out of the way. She's a problem, which is fair. Like, Rowan's the only person still on the board that's powerful enough to cause you any issues, honestly.
Yeah.
And yeah, you should get her out of the way, probably. But Cortland, Julian, tells him they're going to wait for the harvest, which that sounds ominous.
Yeah,
and
right.
Once the harvest is over, Rowan's going to be much more expendable, it seems. So here we go. All right, as I said, I didn't want to spoil the titties. Here they come, man. Whoever strapped Gifford into that outfit from earlier in this season, they strapped Alexandria into this one too.
That dress is gorgeous. That is the
it really is
most
pretty
beautiful piece of costume they have used in both seasons of this show combined.
It is really, gorgeous. Really lovely. And I will say this though, I felt like, and it was harder to tell from a distance when she first comes in to see Lasher, but when we're outside at the wedding, and maybe it was just the lighting, honestly, but I felt like they had her too pale. Like their makeup for her was honestly overdone. Like she looked almost sickly at the wedding.
She had a lot of eye makeup going on too.
Maybe that's what, maybe I'm looking at highlights.
Like a dark, she had a really dark kind of smoky eye. So
brought out the lighter skin,
the pale,
I guess.
The pale and pasty. Yeah. Nothing brings out the pale and pasty like a smoky eye on a white
lovely,
girl.
Though. She looks great. I mean, for the mother of the groom, she looked lovely.
Oh man, wearing that dress.
So Lark comes in with Hamish, and man, that looks a lot like Hamish might be Lark might be the harvest at this moment was what I was thinking. I was like,
oh, this
seems like he's carrying him in here not to be a guest at this wedding. Exactly.
Yeah, when you have to sit next to someone you don't know so well, who doesn't feel like you're a guest as much. Like you're the people I know are over there. Maybe I could sit with them.
Okay. So the like overwhelming urge to procreate is absolutely something that the Taltos have. I don't recall it being quite so physicalized like it is here, where it's literally he can't control himself like he's a wolf man. Yeah.
Yes,
But one of the things that I did like about the episode, honestly, is the way that they designed these harnesses. So Lasher comes out, and at first I didn't realize that it had ropes. I thought it was just yoked. like a vest or something. But yes, it's like a cattle yoke that he is wearing, like a straitjacket almost. And he's got 5 men holding ropes to pull him back. Meanwhile, Emilith is tied up just the same way, basically, with like a corset style thing, and she's got ropes pulled holding her back. It was a cool look, honestly, and the way that it resolves is pretty neat too. I feel like.
Yeah, I mean,
visually,
it's very, it's I mean, it's it's fucking crazy, but I mean, it is something. It's something. It's something.
Yes, I'm really looking for anything at this point.
No, yeah, it definitely was very visually interesting, but I really was just like, I don't know, expecting a body to come splatting down off a mountainside at any given time. Like, it just, like, I could not shake myself out of the midsummer of this episode. It was, I was just expecting the body count to be a lot higher than it was.
I will say, I was thinking that the body count was already going to be, I mean, I get we've got another episode, so maybe they're all just putting them off to the finale. Yeah, it's just one more, which is insane.
How are we?
I don't know, man. I don't know. So I do like, so they've got Lasher tied up, they've got Emilith tied up, and they're like literally yanking towards each other, leaning in, and the drums are going and building to this fever pitch. The priest comes in, and just as he comes in and he raises his hands to begin the ceremony, we cut to Cyprian and the other Talamasca agent. They're in a Scottish bog.
Yes.
And he says, yeah, okay, the body wasn't killed here. It was killed in the woods nearby, and he was just watching the stars and then nothing. I don't know what happened to him, but he wasn't very old. This body didn't live a very long time. Interesting. They're about to leave when they are stopped by a seemingly very dirty copper, if I was guessing.
Yeah. Yeah, I think he might work for the bad guys. I'm not sure.
He might be a baddie.
He might have some Mayfair friends. He just smells of it.
But then we cut back to the wedding, and the priest is finished saying, whatever weird ass ceremonial words he's got there.
If you're having to hold these people back from each other to this degree, like, please wrap the ceremony up. This is awkward for everybody. I've never been to a wedding, like even two virgins that had never done anything. I've never been to a wedding where two people could not keep their hands off themselves to get through the ceremony.
I saw some reel the other day that was talking about a Mormon wedding, and in the top comment under the reel was this woman saying that she had put a 2.5 hour break between their temple wedding and their reception.
2.5 hours.
It was not for photography.
That's ambitious.
I thought it was ambitious. That's what I thought too. For two virgins, 2.5 hours is ambitious.
That's ambitious.
It's a lot of recovery time, is all I'm saying.
Or you need a lot of time to figure things out, and that's fine.
Read the instruction manual.
That's fine.
But here, though, the priest is saying the words, from the mountains to the falls to the ocean, et cetera, whatever, and they chop the ropes. And the two of them just literally attack each other, which is this crazy look as they drop the curtain around the gazebo.
Yes. They close the fuck tent.
Okay. Historically speaking, this sort of wedding actually was a thing, right? You would have, especially for like lords and ladies or kings or whatever, they'd like hoist the married couple off to the bedroom and they'd consummate the marriage so that we could then all celebrate the incoming child. That was like a whole thing. It's interesting visuals. I'll just say that.
Look, I've not been to a wedding with a fuck tent. I didn't even know that was an option, if I'm being honest.
Mike got real traditional in your planning, huh?
Right? I really wasn't thinking outside of the box.
Where do we put the fuck tent? That's what I want to know.
Yeah.
So Rowan tries to go and grab her boy, I guess, to pull the hussy off of him. I don't know what her plan was there exactly. Yeah. I'm like, I think he's occupied, Ro. Don't even worry about it.
Occupado. That he's busy.
Man, she was, by the way, as the episode fades out, she was doing some grunting in there, wasn't she?
Definitely according to the subtitles.
They were using the same Foley artist as the one who did the Gluck Gluck 3000 in the Bayou from season 1 of Interview with the Vampire. So, but Rowan, I heard your heart's dancing.
Not your heart's dancing. That was the loudest blowjob in the swamp.
The loudest blowjob in the swamp. It's true. Okay. Rowan, though, gets up and try to stop this whole thing, and Ian grabs her and puts her back in her seat and shows her that Lark has been sewn into the family. That's he talked about how all of his family members were stitched together, and so that if any of them were injured, all of them would be injured.
And now
and
we
in
know
particular,
what that bitch was doing with her witchy needle.
Exactly. We know what the needle was for now. So Lark has been stitched into the family. If she hurts any of the Scottish Mayfairs, then she hurts Lark too. And that's basically where we leave our episode. Lasher and Emilith are grunting it away in the fuck tent.
Grunting it out in the fuck tent.
Grunting it out in the fuck tent, I think, has got to be our episode title. Actually, boy, I don't think I can get away with that in Apple. I'm gonna have to figure out how to censor that. Ashley, Joel. I forgot to bring this up earlier, but I've got to mention it now because inquiring minds want to know. I think this was very common in my DMs this week, and also on YouTube. Books, Gers, and Purrs in particular asked, what is the name of the account that Ashley follows with cows? We need to know.
Oh, okay. Her name is Katie Sykes, Katie Sykes, Sykes, and she breeds quarter horses. You guys, I am really ADHD, and I hyperfixate on a lot of things, and this is one of my favorite hyperfixations. She's got mini cows, and they're super cute. Also, miniature donkeys and miniature horses, and then they have cows as well. It's foaling season, so you can get in there and watch some baby horses be born.
It's foaling season might not be a bad title for this episode too, actually. Now that I think
know what's going to happen the next one, Joel. It might be foaling season in the next episode.
I'll put the link for that account, by the way, in the show notes.
Yeah, she's fantastic.
I'll pull that link. But yes, actually, for real, several people did ask me, how did Ashley not mention where we can see the cows, please? Thank you.
After I said that, I was like, after we finished recording, I was like, that was a dick move. Somebody might want to see those cows.
Ingriarl on YouTube says, thanks guys so much for this review. I completely enjoy it. I wish I could say the same about the show. Keep it up, my lovelies.
We are here for you. Look, it's been a journey.
Somebody asked me today on the Patreon, are we at the point now where we were hate watching? And I very specifically said after last episode, before watching this one, no, I don't think we're quite there. If this show wasn't a mortal universe, I probably wouldn't be watching it, but no, I don't hate it. I kind of hate it now. This episode in particular, the reason why I do have a bit of a hate watch going on for it is because there are aspects of it which truly are interesting and artfully done. And even when they're not great adaptations of the source work, they're cool. They're fun. Yeah. And then there are big swaths where you do dumb things with characters that don't have any good story reason. And it's like
it feels clumsy. To me like there's a voice in the room that they were almost listening to. Like in the writer's room, there was somebody that was pitching some things that they were like, oh, we like that. Let's go with that. And then they would go with that for like half an episode, and then they'd get distracted and not ever go back to it.
Or just they take the idea, but then 4 dumber people write the idea instead of letting the good person write it.
Yeah, the person whose idea it was. Yeah. It's not their episode, so they just get to break it. They don't get to write it.
Genuinely, y'all, I love talking about these shows so much. We got one more of these, and then we will launch into our movie nights and our book club discussions. We got a lot of cool stuff coming up for that. Okay. So we do have movie nights. We've got book clubs coming after the end of Mayfair Witches. But the first thing that we're going to do when we're done with this series is we're going to do a Q&A episode. Watch our Facebook group and our Patreon for the information and the details on when. But we're going to do a live stream for that episode. So when Ashley and I record, we'll give you guys a link. We're doing it live, guys. We'll give you guys a link and you can come on to the show, watch us do the show live. That means you can ask us questions, and Ashley and I can literally pop your questions into the show on video so that everybody will see them and share them. It's going to be a really good time. Watch the Facebook group, watch the Patreon for the information about when that's going to happen. Ashley and I got to work on the schedule, but that's coming up as our next episode after Mayfair is over. Then we'll launch into our book club discussions. We're going to be talking about Merrick, the next book in the Vampire Chronicles. That's our next book there. So you
weirdos. I'm so excited you picked Merrick.
I'm genuinely, like, I thought for sure they'd be like, no, jump ahead to the Prince Lestat trilogy. No, let's read Lasher again. No, let's read Merrick. Merrick's weird, y'all.
I'm excited. I'm so pumped. We were talking. I haven't read it in so long. I'm really excited to read it again.
I am too. I am very excited too. And Merrick is a book that features a lot of Louis. It features a lot of David Talbot. So those are characters that, often get sidelined in some of the other adventures. So
yeah, absolutely.
It's gonna be good. All right. Until next week, when we're wrapping up Mayfair Witches season 2 for AMC and AMC Plus, we have been your hosts. I'm Joel.
I'm Ashley.
And we are the Articulate Coven. Thanks for listening to the Articulate Coven. If you enjoyed the show, check out our groups on Facebook and Discord. Subscribe to the channel on YouTube. Or find us at articulatecoven.com and wherever you listen to podcasts.